So let's talk first about the key oceanographic features of the Eastern Great Australian Bight. Okay. Hey, doesn't work. Come on, work. Here we go. So here's a little map which illustrates the key features. Okay, let's start the pointer. Pointer works. It's green. So you know this region here is the Eyre Peninsula. We have Spencer Gulf and Gulf St. Vincent, Kangaroo Island here on this side. Adelaide is here. Okay. Great Australian Bight, and this is the eastern part of the Great Australian Bight, and you can see the depth contours. The bathymetric contours, 100-meter line is shown here. The blue line is the 200-meter line. So, and the key features are in terms of upwelling are this upwelling center. You know, there's the upwelling center here of the southern tip of the Eyre Peninsula. Okay, that's this one. There's a tiny one just off the southwest coast of Kangaroo Island, and the Bonnie upwelling region. Okay. The other important feature, and that is discussed in the lecture on the upwelling, is that there is a subsurface pool of nutrient-rich water, which is called the Kangaroo Island Pool. It's shown here. That's where it's located. It's not at the surface. It's a layer that sits on the seafloor. What's also shown here are the key currents that you find. You find the South Australian current, okay, that comes to the west, goes along the shelf break. South Australian current. Okay, it's a nutrient-poor water. It's warm and nutrient poor because it just is formed on the shelf. Doesn't have any connection to any significant nutrient source. And we have a subsurface current which is called the Flinders Current. And this Flinders Current is the source of the Kangaroo Island water. There is some upwelling, regional upwelling here, through so-called shelf break canyons forming the Kangaroo Island Pool. And this is the nutrient source feeding or fueling the upwelling. Okay. All right. So there's another side here, which gives you an idea of the field observations that are available. Okay. So pointer on. We have a long-term mooring. It's where this red star is here. It's called the Kangaroo Island National Reference Station. And we have data at this recording, okay, from surface to the bottom, every 1 meter, information of temperature, salinity. We also have information on chlorophyll A values. We have information on nutrient levels, okay, and over a long time. Okay, so the other dots here show CTD stations, okay. All CTD stations that are available. Some years have a good coverage, other years do not have many observations. Okay, but this one shows all. There's also the Neptune Island station shown here, where BOM collects a weather data. Okay, and then the other thing that's shown here is just the extent of the upwelling region that we have here, shown in this green type of color. Okay, this one is where we normally find upwelling at the surface. We can identify it from using satellite data. Okay, and I'll show you some examples of that. Okay, so now the key questions that interested us were: what's the variability of the surface upwelling signature? Okay, you can look at satellite data. Every year, from year to year, is the upwelling always the same? You can look at CTD data. CTD, by the way, measures conductivity, temperature, and depth, and from that you can calculate salinity. Okay, salinity and temperature. And from this you can actually infer the properties of the Kangaroo Island Pool. Okay, and the idea is probably, if you remember that from the lecture, is the more nutrients you have, the colder is the water that you actually observe on the shelf. Okay, because the water comes from outside the shelf break from a depth of around 300 meters. So if it comes from that depth, you have a temperature of around 12 degrees Celsius. But if you have observed much warmer water, like 14 degrees Celsius, means that there is no such intensive upwelling. Okay, so temperature is an indicator for the nutrient level that you have on the shelf. All right, talking too much. Anyway, you can have a little break, have a little zip. Okay, talk to your neighbors, have a break. Okay, we can continue in a second.